Hey friend, this is Piano Man Steve Lungrin, founder of the Piano Man Approach online piano course series. You can find it at pianomanaapproach.com or learningmusicisfun.com. I appreciate you being here today. Try to put one of these things out every week where we just give you some useful stuff that you can take to your own piano playing so that you can play more songs and have more fun way more quickly. So what we're going to be looking at today actually is I want to show you a really easy technique, and we're probably going to do like a series of videos. I don't know when the next one will come out, but we'll do a series of videos with little technique ideas like this about the stylings of, say, Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard most prominently, but a lot of those great kind of early rock and roll players. Because even in the modern era, these techniques are still very prevalent. And so let's get back to the roots of where they started. And what we're going to be looking at today is sort of the basic tools you can use to do their kind of hammering, what I call the hammering lick, you know, this kind of thing. That kind of thing. So quickly, before we get started, just if you enjoy getting free content like this every week, I would sure appreciate it if you would give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you have any thoughts or requests about what we might want to cover in a future video. And share this with anyone that you think might like it. It really does help me beat the algorithm and get this material in front of more people who will benefit from it. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way. So here's the thing. The nice thing about these really signature licks and riffs that those guys used is that really they're just playing depending on what you decide your tempo is. If you think your tempo is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or it's like they're either going to be 16th notes or 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So at that tempo, you're playing 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Or if you think your tempo is twice that speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So rhythmically, they're not very challenging. But it's more than just hammering on a chord. Okay? So let's just play in the key of C here for a second. If we were going to just play a chord, you can hear how it's missing something. So let's just take a C chord, and I'm going to put it in second inversion, which means root, first, second inversion. Okay? Which is G, C, and E. And if I just played that, you can hear not really quite what we're looking for. It's okay, but it definitely is missing something, right? So what you have to know is where what I call your money notes are. Okay, we're always going to be interested in, usable notes are always going to be your main chord notes, your 1, 3, and 5. So in C, for example, your 1 is the root C, 1, 2, 3, 3 is your E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 is your G. Okay? Those notes are always useful, but then I call your money notes are 2, 6, and 7. 2, 6, and 7. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I say 7, remember, it's a dominant 7, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we flat it. Okay, so 2, 6, and 7, no matter what key you're in, those are your money notes. Those are the notes that add flavor to the chord that give you that spunky sound that you're used to hearing from those guys. So one of the things that's most important, I would say that the most important of those is the dominant 7. Okay, because what a dominant 7 does, as you can hear, a major chord is just kind of bland, happy sounding, but kind of bland, right? When you put that dominant 7 in, it suddenly becomes a rebellious teenager, right? I mean, you can hear that. It's like it's kind of a spunky attitude chord. Okay, so when you throw that in by itself, if you play the 7 chord, that helps. It's still not 100% where we're trying to go, but if you change our little exercise from before and you change it to a 7 chord, well, you know what? That's a big improvement already, right? So that's the first thing that you can do is throw in those money notes to the chord, and then when the chord is more interesting, you're getting closer. So the 2 and the 6 are a little more cheesy sounding. They lean a little more toward country, honky-tonk, and the dominant 7 is a little more bluesy. So it leans more toward rhythm and blues and like pure old classic rock and roll. But in any case, you can hear that a dominant 7 chord like this, or a 6 chord where you put the 6 in, or even a major chord with the added 9. Put that 2, the 6, or the 9 into the chord, it really does thicken it up and it gives it a little more character. So even just doing that is a big improvement in terms of taking this relatively simple rhythmic exercise of just playing 16th or 8th notes and gives it something a little more gives it a little more kick, little extra seasoning, if you will. Now, how can we take that one step further and really, really make it like what those guys do? Okay, now the next step is once you put your money note in there, you want to then take the 3 or the 5 or both, and you want to flat it. So in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? If you flat that note, takes you to an F sharp in this case, G to F sharp, right? And you can play the F sharp and then slide down onto the G, like so. So hear the difference between this now this. Now let's put that dominant 7 in too and do that same thing. So now we go from this to this. Now let's throw this little maneuver in. So can you see how there is this natural progression of relatively simple stuff that as you add one little technique to another and to another, and pretty soon you end up with something that sounds pretty cool. You can do the exact same thing. You could do that, the flat sliding onto the natural on the 3 as well as the 5. So let's try it on the 3. Here's your 3, E in this case, 1, 2, 3. So let's flat it to E flat and then slide back to the E natural. And now let's put that dominant 7 in with it. And let's see how it sounds. See how quickly that turns into a Jerry Lee Lewis or Little Richard lick, right? I love that. So you can do it here, and you can do it here, and you can do it in any inversion of a chord. So you could decide you want to put the 3 on top, and you could do this. See how the E is on the top of the chord, and I'm deciding to slide off of that F sharp into the G. Or you could do the 3. You could have the 3 on top, and you could do the 3 up here. You can do the same thing here. You can take the 5 and slide off of the 3. And you could do the exact same thing here. You could slide off the 5 being on top. It's a little, I think it's a little clunkier, but it still can work. I would finger it like this. I'd use my middle finger on that 5. And in any of those cases, you can add that dominant 7 in to give it a little extra spunk. So there's no wrong way to do it. Here's sliding off the 3, but with that dominant 7 in there, with this root inversion. So see, what this does is that it's a technique rather than like a specific lick. So this is something where it's like you can take the fundamentals of this technique and use it in a bunch of different ways. You don't always have to play a full chord. You could decide you want it to be a little bit cleaner sounding and just use 2 notes. So, for example, you could do what we were doing there, but just use the 5 and the 3, right? Right? Or if you wanted to, I don't happen to like that one as much as the other one, but there's really no wrong way to do it. 2 notes. It's the 1 and the 5. Doing my little slide technique on the 5. You can even put just the 7 and the 5 there. Or with the 3. options are just endless. So the nice thing is, like I say, you're dealing with a technique where you're just kind of pounding out, 16th notes or 8th notes, depending on what you set your tempo as. But by taking the basic idea in this technique, you can apply it in like 1,000 different ways, and you can do it for a measure here and a measure here, and pretty soon you've got yourself an awfully nice solo building up. And all you do is take this same technique and you move it around to different chords, right? You just move it to the different chords that you're playing. And so then if you're playing like a 12-bar blues progression, which would be like C, F, C, F, C, G, F, C. And if you were playing that progression, suddenly you could just move around to different applications of this same lick, and you got yourself a pretty cool sounding Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard-esque solo. Now, that might not be all you want to do in an entire solo, but this is something that you can incorporate into different parts of your solo, and it does not matter what chord you're on. You can be in a chord with lots of sharps and flats, like F sharp, 1, 2, 3, okay? Flat, my third, is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's my top, there's my dominant 7, and there's my 3, and I just want to do. So it doesn't really matter what key you're in, and some of them are a little more user-friendly than others. Obviously, I prefer getting to play in easy keys like C, F, G, D, those kinds of things. But, with just a little bit of practice, you can get these same licks and fills under your hand in C sharp, and F sharp, and A flat, and E flat, and all of these different things, because the concept remains the same no matter what key you're in. So now there are other things, and as I say, we'll probably cover them in future videos, but I don't want to overload you on more than just this one technique in this one. But powerful technique. You can probably get at least 100 different permutations of licks and fills out of just this one technique. So enjoy. I hope it's been useful for you, because that's the whole point of these. I don't just want to send out fluff. I'm trying to give you practical ideas that you can take to your piano playing right now and enhance it from where you sit. So I hope that's what we've been able to do today. I really appreciate you tuning in. And as you go out and practice, please remember my personal mantra over at the Piano Man Approach, which is, if you're not having fun when you're making music, you're doing it wrong. And come check us out at pianomanaapproach.com. We got some free goodies for you over there. We'd love to have you be a part of our community if you like. And I will see you again on the next video, gang. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.